The Signal in the Void, HFY Sci-Fi Story, in the cold darkness of space. Far beyond the borders of known worlds, the Valari exploration ship Trion drifted silently. Its lights flickered as if the stars themselves were fading. Inside the ship, alarms screamed. Red lights painted every corridor in panic. The captain, a tall blue-skinned alien named Relkar, stared at the screen in disbelief. An unknown fleet had appeared from the shadows of a broken moon. Ships shaped like knives, dark and sharp, their weapons already glowing. "Send the distress signal," Relkar shouted, his voice trembling. The communications officer nodded, his claws shaking as he pressed the code. A pulse of energy burst from the ship, racing across the stars, a call for help. It was meant for their allies, the proud Valari Alliance, the strongest navy of their sector. But fate had other plans. Minutes passed, then hours, and still no reply. The crew began to whisper, their voices filled with fear. "The Alliance must have received it," one said. "They will come soon." But deep down, they all knew something was wrong. The enemy ships were closing in, surrounding the Trion like wolves around wounded prey. Relkar's hands tightened on the console. He watched the radar, and then his heart stopped. A new signal appeared, coming from a direction no one expected. The coordinates pointed toward the edge of a forgotten sector, a place no Valari dared to enter. It was marked in ancient maps with a single warning: Deathworld system quarantined by Galactic order. "Impossible," whispered the science officer. "Nothing lives there." But the signal was clear, repeating a simple code. It said, "Message received." The crew stared at each other in silence. Who answered? Relkar asked quietly. The communications officer turned pale. I don't know, Captain." Another pulse came through the comms, stronger, clearer, filled with strange human-like tones. A calm voice spoke. "This is Terran Fleet Command." "We have your signal." The aliens froze. Every legend, every story they had ever heard about humans flashed in their minds. Deathworlders, survivors of a planet that killed everything weak. They were said to be extinct. Or hiding, or worse, waiting. Terrans, Relkar whispered, his breath cold. He had studied them in the archives. The only species that fought the entire Galactic Council and vanished without a trace. If they were alive, then the galaxy was in danger, or maybe saved, depending on how you looked at it. Meanwhile, on the far side of the sector, inside a hidden base orbiting a silent moon, the human commander stood before a hollow map. His name was Admiral Cole, and his eyes were tired yet sharp like steel. The distress signal replayed again and again on the screen. "Alien SOS, non-hostile origin. Attacked by unknown raiders," the AI reported. Cole nodded slowly. "Route Fleet Sigma 9 to the coordinates." The AI hesitated. "Sir, that's beyond approved range." Cole smiled slightly. "Then we'll approve it." Moments later, deep space trembled as the Deathworlder fleet came to life. Titan-class warships, black as night, rose from the dark, their engines glowing like burning stars. The silence of space was broken by their thunder. Back aboard the Valari ship, the crew watched the radar in awe. Massive signatures appeared, dozens, then hundreds, all heading toward them. "They answered our signal," one whispered with hope, but another shook his head. "Those are not our ships!" The first human ship emerged from hyperspace like a ghost, smooth and massive, its hull scarred by countless battles. No flags, no emblems, only one symbol glowing faintly on its side, the mark of Earth. "Unknown vessels approaching," the alien navigator reported. Relkar swallowed hard. "Open communications." The static cleared, and the same calm voice spoke again. "Valari vessel, your signal reached Terran space. Stand by for assistance." Assistance. The word sounded kind, but the tone carried command. No arrogance, no threat, just quiet authority. The crew could feel it, whoever these humans were. They were not asking permission. They were already in control. Outside, the stars flickered as more human ships arrived, their formation perfect, their movements silent. The alien crew felt small, fragile, like insects before giants. Relkar watched one of the massive ships drift beside them, its hull read TFS Iron Requiem. And then, the impossible happened. The human fleet turned its weapons, not on the aliens, but on the attackers surrounding them. Without a single word, the humans opened fire. Space exploded in light in less than 30 seconds. Every enemy ship vanished, shredded into dust and fire. The Valari crew stared through the window in silence, their distress signal still echoing through the void. But now they realized something terrifying. They had not been saved by their allies. They had been saved by Deathworlders. And the galaxy would never be the same again. The human base orbiting the dead moon came alive with motion. For years it had slept in silence, its systems hidden under layers of radiation and dust. Now one ancient signal had woken it, and the sleeping giant stirred once more. The metal corridor shook as deep engines began to hum. Lights flared, long-dead reactors roared to life, and the black ships of the Deathworld fleet rose from their docking rings like ghosts reborn. Admiral Cole stood at the center of Command Deck 1. He watched the holographic display as hundreds of blue markers appeared, each one a Terran warship. Their hulls bore the scars of forgotten wars, their armor thick and battle-worn beside him. The AI voice known as Iris spoke calmly. "Fleet Sigma 9 online, Admiral. All ships report readiness. Weapons nominal, reactor stable." Cole nodded slowly, his expression hard. Plot course to the distress coordinates. Stealth approach, no broadcast, far across the stars. The Valari crew aboard Trion waited in silence. Their sensors were filled with unknown readings. Human ships were moving like predators in the dark. They had expected help from the Alliance, shining ships with banners and music. But these humans came without sound, without announcement, without fear. They moved as if space itself obeyed them. Relkar watched in awe as one of the human ships passed close to the Trion. Its size dwarfed their vessel completely, its surface covered in strange glowing scars. Through the static, a new message came. "This is Terran Fleet Sigma 9. Your distress beacon has been acknowledged. Remain in position." The voice was calm, deep, but there was something behind it. A weight, a presence. It was the voice of a species that had seen too much war. Inside the human flagship Iron Requiem, hundreds of crew members moved in silence. Most of them were not soldiers anymore. They were survivors, engineers, tacticians, all hardened by Deathworld training. Their planet, Earth, had taught them everything about endurance. It had burned, frozen, starved, crushed. Yet humanity survived, and now their fleet reflected that same truth and unbroken. "Relentless, unstoppable, Iris status report," Cole said quietly. "Enemy vessels still circling the Valari ship, Admiral." The AI replied. "Suggest neutralization." Cole's eyes narrowed. "Authorization Sigma, weapons hot, outside." The void glowed faintly as Terran cannons charged, their barrels humming with silent power. On the Valari bridge, alarms rang again. "Unknown ships powering weapons," shouted one officer. Relkar stood frozen, torn between fear and hope. Then the first shot came, not at them but at the pirates. Beams of white plasma cut through the dark like swords of light. Enemy ships exploded one after another, shattered before they even realized they were targeted. In less than a minute it was over. The space around Trion turned silent once again. No wrecks, no escape pods, only drifting dust where entire fleets had been. The Valari stared at the screen, their hearts pounding. How powerful are they?" whispered the navigator. No one answered. Because no one knew, meanwhile. On the human flagship, Iris displayed new readings. Target elimination complete, all hostiles neutralized. No civilian casualties detected. Cole nodded once. "Send a coded message to High Command. Confirm Deathworlder fleet activity restored." The AI hesitated. "Sir, after 200 years of silence, are we revealing our presence to the galaxy again?" Cole turned toward the viewing window, watching the stars beyond. "The galaxy called for help, Iris," he said. "It's time we answered." Back aboard the Trion, the Valari captain received another transmission. "Assistance complete. Maintain position for escort." Relkar pressed his claws against the console. "Terran vessel, we thank you for your help." There was a pause, then a cold reply. "Gratitude unnecessary." "You sent a signal," we responded. That voice, that terrifying calm, sent a chill through every Valari on board. The humans didn't act like rescuers, they acted like guardians of a border no one remembered existed. And as the Valari scanned the wreckage, they realized something even stranger. Some of the destroyed pirate ships had ancient human parts, old Terran metal, old codes, old technology. It was impossible, yet true. Relkar's second officer whispered, "Captain, what if this area once belonged to them?" He wanted to dismiss it, but deep down something told him it was true. The galaxy had forgotten the Deathworlders. But the Deathworlders had never forgotten the galaxy. As the fleet prepared to jump again, the human commander spoke one final line. Valari ship will escort you to safe space. Do not deviate from course. The Valari crew obeyed instantly, fear mixed with awe. Behind them, the Deathworld fleet moved like a single living beast, dark and magnificent and far away across the stars. Other species began to notice. Old sensors came online. Old warnings blinked red. The Deathworlders were awake again, and the galaxy would soon remember why it once feared the name of Earth. The Valari ship Tryon drifted through the nebula of shards. Everywhere they looked, broken pieces of destroyed ships floated like silent ghosts. Burnt metal, twisted frames, shattered hulls, the remains of hundreds of battles forgotten by time. The fog of the nebula glowed blue and red, swirling like liquid fire, hiding dangers behind every shadow. Captain Relkar stood by the window, his eyes wide with fear. He had never seen destruction so complete, so precise. "This place was a graveyard," whispered his science officer. "But who buried them?" The Valari didn't know that they were traveling through a human battlefield, a place where Deathworlders once fought and vanished. Behind them, the Terran fleet followed in complete silence. No chatter, no lights, no signals. Only dark warships gliding like predators through smoke. The largest ship, Iron Requiem, stayed in the center, its engines pulsing with quiet power inside. Admiral Cole watched the holographic map, his eyes calm but focused. "Iris, scan for remaining threats," he ordered. The AI responded softly. "Multiple contacts detected, unknown formation. Preparing for engagement." The pirates who had escaped earlier were regrouping, hundreds of them drawn by greed and madness, believing they could defeat the humans. Their ships circled in the fog, scanning for targets, unaware that death was already upon them, Admiral. "Enemy fleet approaching fast," said the tactical officer. Cole raised one hand. "Hold position." The human ships stopped completely, their engines dimming until the stars swallowed them. On the Valari radar, the Deathworlder fleet simply vanished. "They're gone," shouted the alien navigator, panic filling his voice. Relkar stared, confused. "No, they're not gone," he whispered. "They're hiding." Moments later, the fog began to flicker. Something massive moved behind the enemy ships. A ripple in the dark, then came a flash, one blinding, silent flash, and the first pirate cruiser split apart without a sound. The rest followed within seconds, torn apart by invisible strikes. The humans weren't firing beams or missiles. They were using something far more terrifying: kinetic rods, silent weapons that hit faster than light. The nebula shook as explosions bloomed in every direction. To the Valari, it looked like stars being born and dying all at once. Within 1 minute, the pirates' entire armada was gone. Erased without mercy, no warning, no escape, no survivors. The humans didn't speak, they didn't boast, they just ended the battle. On the Valari bridge, silence fell. The crew looked at each other, hearts pounding, breath frozen. Relkar tried to speak, but his voice failed him. What kind of species fought like this? Cold, perfect and unstoppable. Then through the fog, one human ship approached the Tryon. Its massive hull filled the viewport, black and scarred, yet majestic. A deep voice came through the comms. "This zone is secure. Your vessel is safe." Relkar forced himself to reply, We owe you our lives." The human paused for a long moment, then answered, "Lives are not owed, Captain. They're protected." The words were strange, almost kind, yet filled with something heavy. The aliens didn't understand. Were these humans saviors or executioners? Relkar's first officer whispered. "Captain, I think they are both." Meanwhile, aboard the Iron Requiem, Admiral Cole stood quietly as debris drifted past. His officers worked in silence. "Clean operation," one reported. "Zero collateral." "All targets neutralized," Cole nodded, his eyes still fixed on the stars. "Iris, record the system's coordinates, mark it red." "Red, Admiral?" the AI asked. "Yes," Cole replied. "No one should come here again." Iris paused, then spoke softly. "Sir, the Valari captain is requesting information about the pirates' technology." Cole thought for a moment, then said, "Tell them it's classified." "But Admiral," the AI continued, "they have noticed fragments with Terran serial codes." Cole's jaw tightened. "Then tell them the truth." "Which is?" Iris asked. "That this galaxy has forgotten more than it remembers," he said quietly. Back on the Tryon, the crew examined the wreckage around them. Every scan revealed something impossible. Pieces of metal, engines, and weapons, all built with human design. Yet they were centuries old. older than any record of human civilization in the current era. How can that be? Asked the engineer. Humans were not even in space that long ago. Relkar looked out the window at the shadowed fleet ahead. Maybe they never stopped traveling, he said, his voice low. Maybe they were always here. The Terran fleet began to move again, forming a perfect escort line. Their ships glided like shadows, engines glowing faintly blue. Every alien heart on the Trion knew. These were not just soldiers. They were survivors of a world that refused to die, a world that learned to fight until the stars themselves bowed in silence. As the fleet passed the edge of the nebula, a single encrypted message was transmitted. No one but the humans could read it. It said only 6 words: Sigma-9 operational, Deathworlders awake again, and somewhere, far beyond known space, another Terran fleet received the signal. Another commander opened his eyes and smiled. The Deathworlders were not a myth anymore, they were coming back, and the galaxy would soon remember what real fear felt like. The Valari ship Trion floated beside the Terran flagship Iron Requiem. The 2 vessels hung in silence, surrounded by drifting sparks and broken metal. For the Valari crew, the battle was over, but the real fear had just begun. Captain Relkar watched the human ships move with impossible precision. They didn't drift, they didn't correct their course. They glided, as if space itself bent around them. Every motion looked deliberate. Every shadow filled with purpose, even the silence of their fleet felt alive. The communication channel crackled softly. "This is Terran Fleet Sigma-9, said a calm voice. "You are now in secure space," Relkar swallowed hard, his hands shaking slightly. "This is Captain Relkar of the Valari ship Trion. We thank you for your rescue." A brief pause followed, then the human voice replied, "Rescue was not our intention, Captain. We respond to distress signals." That tone, cold, direct, emotionless, sent a chill through every alien on the bridge. It wasn't rude, but it carried the weight of something ancient. Something unbroken. Relkar tried again. Then, "May I ask who commands this fleet?" The reply came instantly. "Admiral Cole, Terran Fleet Command." The Valari bridge fell silent. The name meant nothing to them, but the title did. A Terran Admiral, living proof that Deathworlders still ruled the stars. Meanwhile, on the Iron Requiem, Admiral Cole stood with his officers through the transparent wall. He could see the small alien vessel beside them. "They're terrified," said one lieutenant quietly. Cole nodded. "Good, it means they understand what we are." The AI, Iris, responded softly. "Fear may hinder diplomacy." "Admiral," Cole smiled faintly. "Fear teaches respect, Iris, and respect keeps them alive." Inside the Valari ship, the crew continued scanning the area. Their sensors revealed strange energy fields around the human ships. Not shields, not armor, something else. Something organic. "Captain, their technology doesn't match any known power signature," said the engineer. Relkar frowned. "How old are these readings?" The engineer hesitated. "Older than our recorded history." "Sir?" Then suddenly one of the human ships turned toward them. Its engines glowed red like fire, and a small vessel detached from its side. It was a dropship, black and silent, heading straight for Trion. "Captain, they're sending a boarding craft," shouted the navigator. Panic filled the bridge, alarms rang, and the crew scrambled to defensive positions, but Relkar raised a hand. "No, hold your fire," he said softly. "If they wanted us dead, we would already be dust." Moments later, the Terran craft docked. A hiss of air echoed through the Valari corridors as the doors opened. Every Valari soldier aimed their weapons. Hearts racing, then they saw them, humans walking in calm formation, tall. Armored figures in black suits marked with the symbol of Earth. Their movements were smooth, silent, disciplined, and their eyes, visible through transparent visors, looked ancient. The leader stepped forward, removing his helmet. He was pale, with short dark hair and eyes like burning steel. "I am Commander Ryan Holt, Terran Fleet," he said, his voice deep and steady. No threats, no arrogance, just the certainty of command. Relkar approached cautiously, his voice trembling. Why did you help us?" Holt looked at him for a long moment before answering. "Because no one else did." That simple sentence carried more weight than any weapon. The Valari officers stood silent, realizing the truth. Their powerful alliance had ignored their distress call. But the forgotten Deathworlders, the ones they feared, had answered. One of the human soldiers placed a small device on the floor. It projected a holographic image, A map of the sector. Red marks filled the space around them. These systems are compromised, Holt explained. You were bait, Captain. Someone wanted this signal to reach us, Relkar blinked in confusion. To reach you? Holt nodded. They knew we'd come. The Valari crew exchanged nervous looks. Who would dare provoke the Deathworlders? Who would risk calling them back into galactic affairs, back aboard the Iron Requiem? Admiral Cole watched the interaction through his tactical screen. Iris, what do you think? He asked quietly. The AI replied, the pirates were too organized. Their tech too advanced. It feels orchestrated. Cole exhaled slowly. Then we find who's pulling the strings. The human fleet began scanning nearby systems. Signals flickered, hidden transmissions appeared. Coded in old Terran language, Admiral, said a technician. These messages date back over 2 centuries. Cole's eyes narrowed. So it begins again, he murmured back on Tryon. The humans finished their inspection. Commander Holt turned to Relkar. You are clear to travel, Captain. Our fleet will escort you to the edge of safe space. Relkar nodded nervously. Thank you, Commander Holt, for your mercy. Holt paused at the door, then looked back. Mercy is not something we practice often, Captain. Don't give us a reason to regret it. The door closed behind him, and the silence that followed was heavy. Every Valari in that corridor felt the same cold realization. Humanity wasn't here to make allies. They were here because someone had disturbed their sleep. As the human ship detached and returned to its fleet, Relkar whispered to his officer, What have we awakened? The officer replied softly, Not gods, Captain, he said, eyes wide. Deathworlders. The Terran fleet moved ahead, dark engines burning like red suns. Each ship carried the ghosts of a world that refused to die. And far away in the galactic core, other empires began to whisper. Old words returned to memory. The Deathworlders had answered a signal, and now they would not stop. The Terran fleet and the Valari ship Tryon drifted through the edge of the nebula. The stars around them looked cold, distant, watching in silence. Captain Relkar stood on the bridge, staring at the human ships ahead. They moved like shadows, perfect, emotionless, every ship following an invisible rhythm. It felt less like a fleet and more like a single, living creature, breathing through steel and fire. Captain, the sensor officer said softly. We found something. Relkar turned. What is it? Coordinates embedded in the debris, old, ancient, older than our navigation records. The code pulsed with a strange frequency, repeating a human symbol, a circle with 3 wings. The humans recognized it immediately. Inside the Iron Requiem, Admiral Cole's expression darkened. I know that mark, he said. That's from the first expansion wars. The room went quiet. Even the AI Iris paused, her voice softer than usual. Admiral, that conflict was erased from all official archives. Cole nodded slowly. Because the galaxy couldn't handle the truth. 2 centuries ago, humanity had reached beyond its limits. They built fleets that could bend stars, terraform worlds, and rewrite physics. But the galaxy feared them, feared their evolution, their drive, their refusal to surrender. And so the Council united, dozens of species against one. They called it the Containment War, but the humans called it something else. The Silence. The galaxy thought humanity was destroyed. Their cities burned, their colonies erased, their fleets vanished into black holes. But they were wrong. Humanity had simply hidden, deep, patient waiting, until someone called them again, back on the Valari ship. The crew listened as human records played through shared communication. Ancient transmissions filled the air, old voices of human soldiers whispering through time. Hold the line, one voice said. Earth endures. Relkar felt a chill crawl down his spine. These were not the words of conquerors. They were the words of survivors. Admiral Cole stared at the projection of the old battlefield. Hundreds of destroyed ships floated in the distance, their hulls still bearing Terran insignias, their reactors cold but intact. Those ships fought here, Cole said quietly, and no one came back for them. He looked to his crew. Until now, the Valari science team watched as drones from the human fleet began exploring the wrecks. Each drone moved with eerie precision, scanning the remains, collecting fragments. Captain, said the Valari scientist, some of these ships are still alive. Relkar frowned. Alive? Yes, she said, their cores are active. They're trying to restart moments later. A low vibration rippled through space, the sensors screamed, and one of the dead Terran ships lit up, a faint blue glow spreading across its hull. The Iron Requiem immediately sent commands. Cole's voice was calm. "Bring it online." The ancient ship obeyed. Its systems roared back to life. Its engines burned like newborn stars. A signal pulsed through the dark. A single Terran code, old but clear. Unit Sigma 9 reporting, awaiting orders. The humans stood in silence. Even Cole took a step back, whispering under his breath. They're still following protocol. For 200 years, that forgotten warship had waited, no food, no crew, no life, only a machine waiting for humanity to return. The Valari couldn't comprehend it. "How can they be so loyal?" asked one. "It's been centuries," Relikar answered quietly. "Because they are human." He didn't know why he said it, but it felt true. Admiral Cole ordered a retrieval. "Bring the ship home," he said. "It's one of ours." The massive Terran fleet moved in unison, tractor beams locked on, lights pulsing like veins for the first time. The Valari saw emotion in the humans' actions, not rage, not violence, but sorrow. Iris spoke softly. "Admiral, the recovered ship's data core is transmitting logs." Cole nodded. "Play them." The voice of an old Terran captain filled the room. "If anyone finds this message, know this. We did not die in vain. We fought for every breath, every inch, every dream. Because that's what humans do." Silence followed. No one moved, not even the AI spoke. Cole finally broke it. "I want every record restored, every log recovered, every name remembered." He looked at the Valari transmission window. "This is why you should fear us." "Captain Relikar," he said softly. "Not because we destroy, but because we never forget." Relikar felt the words pierce through him like fire. In that moment he understood what made Deathworlders truly terrifying. It wasn't their power. It wasn't their weapons. It was their memory, their will, their ability to survive everything and still rise again. As the fleet left the nebula, the recovered ship followed behind. Its engines flickered weakly, but it stayed with them. One more ghost returning home, and across the galaxy, ancient listening stations began to activate. One by one, lights turned red, old systems woke. The Deathworlders had stirred the past, and the past was waking with them. The Terran fleet moved through silent space, a formation of shadows wrapped in light. Behind them followed the Valari ship Trion, small and trembling in the wake of giants. Every star they passed seemed to flicker as if afraid to look at them, and yet somewhere beyond that cold emptiness, something watched. Admiral Cole stood at the bridge of the Iron Requiem, his hands behind his back. The recovered ancient warship drifted beside them, its hull cracked and glowing faintly blue. Iris, the ship's AI, whispered through the speakers, "Admiral, I've intercepted encrypted transmissions." Cole turned his head slightly. "Origin?" "Unknown," she replied, "but not random. They follow our course." He frowned, his eyes narrowing. "Someone's tracking us," he said softly. "They knew we'd come here." The crew exchanged uneasy looks. For years, the Terran fleets had stayed hidden, silent observers of a galaxy that forgot them. But now, by answering one distress call, they had been exposed far away. In the deep systems of the Valari Alliance, the council gathered. High lords and generals argued in panic. "Humans have re-emerged," one shouted. "They destroyed an entire pirate armada in seconds." Another whispered, "We thought they were extinct." But one voice, calm and cold, said, "Perhaps extinction was a lie. The council wasn't alone." In the shadows behind their grand chamber, a figure listened. Tall, covered in dark armor, its skin pale as ash. It wasn't Valari, it wasn't human. It was something older. It smiled, its eyes burning red. The Deathworlders woke up sooner than planned, it hissed. "Excellent. Back aboard the Iron Requiem." Iris's tone changed. "Admiral, a fleet is approaching. Signatures match Valari, but the energy cores are wrong." Cole's gaze sharpened. "They're not Valari, they're using stolen IDs." The sensors flared red, 150. Then 100 ships appeared out of hyperspace, surrounding the area. "Contact in 10 seconds, Iris reported. Cole gave one simple order. Battle posture. The Deathworlder fleet moved instantly. Shields flared, engines roared. Weapons aligned like a machine waking from a dream. Relikar watched from the Trion, stunned by how fast the humans transformed from silence to war. "They don't hesitate," his officer whispered. "They act like they've done this 1,000 times." Relikar nodded slowly. "Because they have. The enemy fleet opened fire, beams of plasma tearing across space. The Terran ships didn't dodge, didn't retreat. They let the energy wash over their armor, glowing white for a heartbeat before fading. Their hulls absorbed the impact as if the universe itself refused to harm them. Cole raised his hand. Return fire. What followed wasn't a battle. It was an execution. Terran rail cannons fired in absolute silence. Bolts of magnetized metal cut through entire cruisers like paper. Missiles streaked across the void, exploding in perfect synchronization. In less than 30 seconds, half the enemy fleet vanished. But the remaining ships didn't flee. They transmitted something. A code, an ancient tone, and every Terran console went dark for half a second. Iris, Cole said sharply, report. The AI's voice glitched. Signal intrusion detected, origin unknown. Trying to isolate. Then her tone changed and lower. Colder. Admiral, the code is Terran. The entire bridge froze. Cole's voice was a whisper. That's impossible. Data poured through the system. Patterns. Voices, coordinates. Old human encryption mixed with alien technology. Someone had taken Terran systems, learned them and twisted them. Iris forced the infection back, her digital form flickering on the holoscreen. I've traced it, she said. The origin isn't Valari space, it's deeper. Beyond the outer veil. Cole stared at the star map as red lines appeared, forming a symbol he hadn't seen in centuries. A symbol carved into the wrecks of the old war. 3 rings. Burning like eyes. The Dominion, he said under his breath. His officers looked at him in shock. Sir, that's a myth, one said. Cole shook his head. No. It's what started the first containment war. The Valari ship listened in horror as fragments of the transmission leaked through. What is the Dominion? Relkar asked. The human voice replied through static. They were our enemies, Captain. The ones who taught the galaxy to fear us. The battle around them ended as quickly as it began. The Dominion fleet burned in silence, their fake Valari ships turning to dust. But Cole's mind wasn't at peace. This was no accident, no random ambush. Someone had baited the humans, forced them out of hiding, and now, the galaxy would remember what it meant to wake a Deathworlder fleet. He turned to his crew. Iris, send message to all Terran sectors. What message, Admiral? She asked. Cole's voice was quiet but firm. Tell them the Dominion still lives. The bridge lights dimmed, alarms pulsed red. And from the ancient ship beside them came a reply. The same tone. The same message repeated endlessly. We await your command far beyond the stars. Deep within forgotten space, something vast stirred. 1,000 dark ships opened their eyes. Their AI cores pulsed, echoing the ancient signal of Earth. The past was no longer sleeping. It was returning. The stars had gone quiet. After the battle, the wrecks of the Dominion fleet floated in endless darkness. Smoke and shattered metal drifted like dying memories. The Valari ship Tryon stood still, its crew speechless. Their eyes locked on the Terran fleet that had saved them again. Admiral Cole stood on the bridge of the Iron Requiem, his face half lit by the red glow of warning lights. Iris, he said softly, connect me to High Command. For a long moment, there was only static. Then a deep voice answered, old, powerful human. Cole, report. The Dominion is alive, he replied. And they remember us across the Terran network. Old satellites powered on. Hidden colonies, lost stations. Buried command bunkers, all woke from slumber. Earth itself, long silent, turned its eyes to the stars once more. Signals rippled through the void, linking the hidden Deathworlder fleet scattered across galaxies. They had waited for this moment. And now humanity was answering on the Tryon. Captain Relkar watched in awe as the humans began to move. Their ships aligned into a massive formation, stretching for thousands of kilometers. Hundreds of engines burned like a second sunrise. What are they doing? Whispered his first officer. Relkar's voice was trembling. They're calling home. Admiral Cole gave the order. All Terran fleets, initiate resurrection protocol. The stars themselves seemed to respond. Far beyond the nebula, space folded, twisted, and screamed as portals opened. From each one, new Terran ships emerged, old designs, new shapes. Some massive as moons, some small and fast like blades of light. Every one of them bore the same symbol, the mark of Earth. The Valari sensors went mad, their displays flooded with readings beyond comprehension. Captain, shouted the engineer, those power levels? They're impossible. Relkar didn't answer. He could only stare. The humans had not sent a fleet. They had sent an armada of worlds from the Iron Requiem. Cole watched the formation grow, his voice steady. "Transmit this to the galaxy," he said. A broadcast spread across every frequency. Every world, every empire, static cleared, and the human admiral's face appeared. "This is Terran Fleet Command," he said, his tone quiet but unyielding. "For 2 centuries, we watched in silence, waiting, hoping the galaxy had learned peace." He leaned forward slightly, eyes like fire. "But you brought back the ghosts we buried, and now we will finish what you started." Across the galaxy, screens flickered, stations froze, fleets halted in their tracks. Every living being heard the voice of a Deathworlder, and they felt the truth. Not anger, not vengeance, but something heavier, purpose. The Dominion forces across several sectors reacted instantly. Their fleets emerged, millions strong, metallic wings filling the stars. They expected chaos, fear, retreat. Instead, they found calm. Every Terran ship turned its guns toward the center of the galaxy and fired. The light that followed was beyond beauty or horror. It wasn't destruction, it was revelation. A wave of energy tore through the Dominion lines, folding time, erasing entire battle formations in silence. No screams, no wrecks, just a whisper that faded into light. The humans had unleashed the Ansible core, a weapon built not to conquer but to end wars. It didn't kill people, it erased violence itself, turning enemy systems inert, silencing weapons permanently. The galaxy watched, stunned, as the Dominion armada simply ceased to exist, not destroyed, just ended. When the light faded, only the Terran fleet remained. Still and silent among the stars, on the Trion, Relkar fell to his knees, whispering, "They could have conquered us all." His officer nodded slowly. "But they didn't." Admiral Cole closed his eyes, the bridge quiet. "Iris," he said, "record this as the last act of war for humanity." The AI responded softly. "Understood, Admiral." Cole looked out at the fading stars. "The galaxy called for help," he said, his voice almost a whisper, "and we answered one by one." The Terran ships began to fade, vanishing into warp space. Their lights dimmed, their engines cooled. Only their echo remained, rippling through space like a heartbeat. And for the first time in centuries, the galaxy felt something it hadn't known in a long time. Hope. The Valari captain stood and saluted the empty sky. He didn't understand them, no one did. But every race across the stars would remember this day. The day the Deathworlders returned. The day humanity answered the call.